Good morning, I'm Steve from Big Calm Tiny Homesteads. This is awkward questions about tiny home communities. Awkward question number 6, can you make money from a tiny house community? Well, yeah, you should be able to. You should be able to run it like a business. There's this stigma, probably well earned over the years, of a number of communities that are set up as kind of hippie communes or just collections of friends, maybe even cooperatives that are not structured and governed and built to run like a business. And so you see a lot of failed community attempts for that reason. That's why here at BigCalm, what we've tried to do, even before we bought the property, we did a lot of due diligence, we did a lot of business planning, we consulted with a number of people and a lot of experts. It was really important for us that we make sure that this is actually a viable business. So before we even bought the property, when we'd found the property and when we were starting to think, hey, we've got this great open space here that would be wonderful for a tiny house community, and we keep hearing about these things not having a nice place to park. They just go on the side of a building on a driveway. We've got a nice, desirable place to park. It's unzoned here, and maybe there's something to it. Is this actually something that people would want to do? So we built a simple website, put it up there, and had a lot of interest. And that showed us that this idea wasn't so crazy after all, that there is a lot of pent-up demand for this. We investigated the tiny house builders, the pro builders, toured some of their factories and got to know them as well, and really discovered that the quality that they're putting into these builds is really quite impressive. Creative ingenuity, but also trying to uphold really high standards to legitimize what's been in between houses on foundations and RVs. It's both and neither, and that makes it kind of difficult. So we ran the numbers, we did a proper business plan and worked it over and had a lot of people take a look at it. I have a management background, so this was something I was familiar with. I really explored to make sure that this was a nice business to jump into, basically for the rest of our lives. And it is. We modeled things out, I think, quite properly. We factored in things, even with a pandemic that changed supply chain and crew availabilities and so on. We factored in some of that buffer, and we're pretty good with our forecasts. That was built into the whole thing in terms of pricing, in terms of how we pitched this, in terms of who we were marketing to, going after a rental model versus a strata or corporate co-op or subdivision model. There's a whole lot of different ways that we could have structured this. The rental model makes it a little bit more of an upfront burden for us to build out, but it's certainly attracted the right people. And we're charging something that actually reflects the costs of being out here. We are rural. It is more expensive to get internet, and in the winter we're plowing a long driveway. The amenities that we build in, things like the garden or extra outbuildings, as I've mentioned before, is we've got a very expensive community septic system, and that's just us doing it the right way. So a lot of upfront costs, but yeah, you can make money at this. We're not at that point yet, but we see the path for it, and it'll be a nice lifestyle business. That's one of the, I suppose, drawbacks to this type of project, is that if you're talking to investors, many of them get involved in software projects, and software projects can scale much faster and much bigger than a physical project. So you really have to find people who can appreciate what you're doing in the real world and the value that it brings in terms of community, in terms of environmental footprint, in terms of sustainability of a business model. It's often some of the money folks that are pushing you into other things, that this needs to be bigger or denser. So there's the answer to the awkward question of, can you make money building a tiny house community? Yes, you can, but do it right, model it properly, build the costs into that model, and be honest about it. Don't just try to get a low sticker price to post on Facebook. That's a recipe for disaster. If you don't do it right, then you're really messing with people's lives, because they are investing a lot into their houses. It's a big life decision to move from wherever they're moving. It's a big decision to park and live rurally and in a remote area. And so you want to make sure that you've built things out right and that you've got the revenue sustainability that lets you maintain those over the long haul. So take a very responsible approach, be very honest about your numbers, and methodical about that build-out process. There's definitely a business. This is definitely a trend that's only been growing on the tiny house side, on the permaculture side, on the remote work side, on the rebalancing of life to be closer to nature. All of those things are in the right direction and long-term. So there you go.